In this episode of The Haul, I'm giving you my top 5 mods for that 2015 and newer EcoBoost rig at home. Hey, what's up guys? Justin with AmericanTrucks.com, and again, welcome to my breakdown of my top 5 modifications for your 2015 and newer EcoBoost F-150 at home. Now in this video, I selected parts based off my experience here in the aftermarket at AT, along with being an EcoBoost owner and enthusiast. Now, at the end of the day, some of you guys might disagree with my part selection or my choice of brand, and that's perfectly fine because it's your truck, you can mod it however you want. I do also want to point out that all of the mods selected for this video apply to our 2016 3.5 liter EcoBoost, but if you do happen to be a 2.7 EcoBoost owner, don't worry, all the parts selected in this video will also apply to your rig as well. But enough yapping, what do you say we talk about our first part? All right, now our first modification here is something that I'm gonna recommend for any EcoBoost owner out there, but especially the pre-port injection 2.7 and 3.5 EcoBoost owners to prevent valve coking and engine buildup. And of course, I'm talking about some sort of oil separator or catch can. And they do a great job of eliminating that oily vapor from getting re-ingested by your EcoBoost engine. And that's the big thing here. You wanna keep that stuff out of your engine and keep it performing at its tip-top condition for many years to come. Now in this video we are featuring the JLT 3.0 here in black for the passenger side, and if you're not familiar with what these guys do, feel free to check out our What's Up With That video on our channel, all things oil separators and catch cans, where we do a great job of breaking down the history of the PCV system, what these guys do, and why you actually need one for your truck. But again, in this case, we got the JLT in place. We like the JLT here at AT just for its simplicity of install, quality construction, and just ease of use. Very easy to install, all for right around 150 bucks. Now you are gonna find a bunch of these here on the site from companies like JLT, of course, Mishimoto, and others that incorporate maybe some of the passenger and driver side PCV. There's really no bad option on the site, but it really boils down to what you want to do and of course your budget. But again, going back to the JLT, 3-ounce capacity, hence the 3.0 name, this time in anodized black. You can also grab it in silver if you like. I really like the factory style hoses and fittings, makes for a very easy install in a few minutes tops. I get the question a lot, is it too late to install one of these? My truck has 50,000 miles. No, it is never too late to install something like this on your engine and prevent further damage from happening or further buildup from happening in your EcoBoost engine. So probably my top recommended modification for any EcoBoost owner, both new or old, and something that I have on my personal truck at home. In the meantime, our next mod isn't too far away, just on the other side of the engine bay, so let's check out that next. Up next, we have the most popular modification, hands down, for any truck owner out there, EcoBoost or not. And of course, I'm talking about some sort of aftermarket intake system. Now, the intake I selected for this video is the Roush Cold Air system, extremely popular here on the site, well over 100 5-star reviews, and one that I'm personally familiar with, having installed it on my 2017 Raptor at home. I like calling these things the gateway mod because installing something like this, I feel, gives truck owners the confidence to tackle modifications in the future because they're very easy to install. On top of that, they look pretty cool underneath the hood, pick up a little bit of power, make some cool noises, and in some cases will even deliver some improved fuel economy. Now the Roush here in particular, I dig it, gives off kind of a low-key vibe, not a lot of flash, not a lot of logos. I like that personally. But more importantly, the filter itself is going to deliver 25 to 30% less restriction over your factory intake or filter. And that's where you're going to be picking up some extra power. That's where you're going to be picking up some extra fuel economy and so on. Now this is an open enclosure, meaning it's unlike your factory airbox, which is a sealed enclosure. Now some guys out there prefer the sealed enclosures because of the heat soak elements that can sometimes come along with an open enclosure. But I do want to point out that the Roush does a great job of sealing to the top of your factory hood with the included weather stripping. Outside of that, no tune required. Anybody can bolt one of these things up. And speaking of anybody, carb legal. So anybody in all 50 states can bolt something up like this and go without having to catch any flack from the man. So big time fan of the Roush and any intake system for that matter. Pick up a little bit more power, make some cool noises, and just kind of look good under the hood. But speaking of which, we have one more mod up front, and then we're gonna move underneath the truck. Up next, we have one of the most overlooked options or modifications for the EcoBoost powered trucks, in my humble opinion, and that is replacing the factory intercooler with an aftermarket larger option. In place now, we have Mishimoto's aluminum option shown here in black. It's also available on the site in silver for right around $800. Now, as an EcoBoost owner, both past and present, I can personally attest that heat soak is the largest performance killer with these trucks, especially in warmer climates or during summer months when you're working the truck especially hard, towing, performance, or whatever. So to help combat that is upgrading your factory intercooler to a much larger option. Case in point, the Mishimoto option is currently the largest you can throw in the factory location without having to modify anything. And that's something I really like about this option. Very easy to install. In fact, you don't even have to take off the bumper to do so. Simply drop the stocker out the bottom, replace the Mishi in reverse order, and you're good to go. No tune required for this thing. It is CARB certified, making it 50 state legal. And also it comes with a lifetime warranty, which is a really nice thing to point out. Also has a built-in 1/4-inch NPT drain plug. EcoBoost owners, you probably have heard about some of these problems in the past with condensation building up in your intercooler, which can lead to a misfire condition. So to help combat that, Mishimoto did incorporate that drain plug, and that's another big thing I do really dig. Now, something like this isn't necessarily going to add horsepower or torque to your rig, but it will keep it from dropping off dramatically, again, in those warm situations. Now, there is one thing to keep in mind though, however, with something like this, is that if you do plan on adding a winch eventually down the road, this probably isn't going to be your best option because it's just simply not gonna jive with that larger intercooler in the factory location. At that point, you would need to consider something that's gonna move your intercooler up into the grill area from ADD, full race, AFE, and so on. But for most owners out there who just simply wanna upgrade the stocker without having to modify a whole bunch of stuff, the TIG welded aluminum Mishimoto option is a great choice. We're just over the halfway point here with our top 5 list. We got one mod to talk about underneath the truck. So what do you say we get this thing on the lift and show you what's up? Our next mod is certainly going to be the most controversial, and that of course is switching out your factory exhaust for an aftermarket system. In this case, I selected the MBRP Installer Series 4-inch system for our 3.5 EcoBoost truck. Now, yes, I know the EcoBoost isn't Ford's best sounding engine ever to date, but that's not going to change the fact that owners are going to modify their exhaust for a little bit more sound and a little bit more presence. Now, I like MBRP's lineup in general, but I really dig the 4-inch system here, especially the installer system. Very affordable, right around $400, thanks to the aluminized steel construction. Now, if you're an F-150 owner or an EcoBoost owner that lives in the Salt Belt or the Northeast, you might want to upgrade to the company's XP or Pro Series system. The XP will give you the 409 grade stainless, whereas that Pro Series will give you a 304 grade stainless build along with a lifetime warranty. But outside of that, you're getting that massive 4-inch diameter here with this system. It's gonna help your truck breathe a little bit easier. You're getting mandrel bent tubing, of course, as well. Might pick up a little bit more turbo whistle with this thing in place, more so if you end up upgrading your downpipes down the road at some point. But overall, I really like the tone. It's not too loud, it's not too farty, for lack of a better word. Nice deep tone overall, a little bit of interior noise, but a solid sounding system for a very affordable price. Some truck owners out there might encounter a little bit of cutting. That wasn't our case here with our 145-inch wheelbase truck. No cutting whatsoever, which is always a nice thing. But if you do have to cut, just make sure you got a bandsaw, sawzall, something like that on hand to get it done. But maybe my favorite part is this massive 5-inch tip embossed with the MBRP logo. Look at this thing, man. Totally ridiculous. I like to call it the grapefruit shooter, but it does look awesome underneath the bumper here of our 3.5 rig. Now, I know it might not be everybody's favorite mod for this video, but one that I thought was very worthy of the list. Last but not least, we have our most potent modification of the list, and that is a custom tune along with a handheld tuning device. Now, we have a lot of killer options here on the site from a lot of great tuning companies, but for this video, I selected the Lund Racing 93 Octane Custom Tune using the SCT X4 handheld tuning device. Now, Lund is just one of the best in the biz and have tuned some of the fastest cars and trucks in the land, and I have some great experience working with them in the past. Now, anybody who owns a tuned EcoBoost F-150 can attest that not only do you get more horsepower and torque when tuning your rig, but you also get things like improved drivability and killer throttle response. Now, I can talk about this stuff all day long, but what do you say we get to the dyno and actually show you some of the results? All right, we just did a few dyno pulls, guys, so let's break down these numbers. Just so you all know, all of these runs done here today were done in third gear. Why? Well, because yes, I know fourth is technically a little bit closer to 1-to-1. However, the factory speed limiter would not allow for a clean baseline run in fourth gear. And honestly, I'm not very comfortable spinning these 35-inch mud tires up to 140, 50, 160 miles an hour in fourth gear with a 355 gear ratio truck. So that being said, we've done it in third, we got 93 octane in the tank, and we've done all of our runs here with the 35-inch tire. So let's break everything down. Baseline run here, guys, with 93 octane, 315 horsepower, 349 pound-feet of torque at the rear wheels. With that 93 octane Lund Racing tune only, the truck made 347 horsepower and 407 pound-feet of torque at the rear tires. Pretty healthy gain of 32 horsepower and 58 pound-feet of torque peak, and really nice numbers under the curve. We're looking at 111 horsepower up high, around 6,000 RPM, and 64 pound-feet of torque down low underneath the curve. Now, we had all these modifications on the truck, we had the tune uploaded, we figured, what the hell, let's run it one more time and see if this thing picks up even more over those tune-only numbers, and guess what? It did, to the tune of 363 horsepower now with the tune and the modifications, and 417 pound-feet of torque. So over those baseline numbers, that's 48 horsepower and 68 pound-feet of torque peak, and just ridiculous numbers under the curve. We're looking at 125 horsepower, again up high around 6,000 RPM, and just monstrous curve numbers in torque, 149 pound-feet. Let's break these numbers down, where they occur and why. Now, bone stock, a lot of you EcoBoost owners probably know that feeling of your truck feeling pretty healthy out of the hole, but then just nose diving hard after 5,000 RPM, and you can even see it here with our dyno graph. It just really falls off a cliff. Well, now with that Lund Racing tune in place, you can see it just keeps going up where it used to fall off and just really kind of edges over around red line at 6,500 RPM. And that's where you're getting that huge curve gain in horsepower. You're seeing this number here up top in green. That's your after horsepower number and your baseline number. And look at all that real estate between those two lines. That's what's called curve gain. That's what you're really gonna feel up top. Same can be said down low. You're looking at your torque numbers right here, baseline. That's that 149 pound-feet of torque underneath the curve. Monstrous gains out of the hole. This thing's gonna feel like a completely different monster, red light to red light. And when you're staying in it through the RPM range, it's just gonna freight train real hard. So I'm always a big proponent of tuning these EcoBoost engines, and the proof is in the pudding. I mean, these dyno numbers don't lie. They respond extremely well to modifications and tunes. Pretty easy to see why you should add some bolt-ons and a tune to your EcoBoost at home. Hey, that's gonna wrap up our 2015 and newer top 5 EcoBoost mod video, guys. We hope you enjoyed it. As always, get involved in the discussion. Leave us a comment. What mods are you picking for your truck at home? We definitely wanna hear about them and why. In the meantime, be sure to subscribe to our channel for more cool content like this. And keep in mind, for all things F-150, keep it right here at AmericanTrucks.com.